John and Mary lived in a quiet little town, the kind where everyone knew each other, and life moved at a steady, predictable pace. They had been together for many years, bound by a love that had weathered time and change. John worked long hours at the local factory, his hands rough from labor, while Mary stayed home, making their house a warm and welcoming place. Their love was steady and unshakable, the kind built on deep understanding and shared dreams. Their story began years ago in the halls of their high school. John, a promising football player with an easy smile and an air of confidence, had little patience for books. Mary, on the other hand, found solace in the quiet corners of the library, her nose always buried in a novel. Fate had a way of bringing opposites together. One day, John found himself struggling with an assignment, frustration clear in his furrowed brow. "Can you help me with this?" he asked hesitantly, approaching Mary as she sat at a table by the window. Mary looked up, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Sure, I can help," she said with a gentle smile. That was the beginning. What started as study sessions quickly grew into something deeper. They spent hours talking about life, dreams, and fears. John admired Mary's sharp mind, and she, in turn, saw the kindness behind his confident exterior. Friendship turned into love, and before long, they were inseparable. Years later, they got married in a small but beautiful ceremony. They moved into a cozy house on the outskirts of town, filled with love and laughter. Life felt complete. Then came Sarah, their little girl, their greatest joy. John worked tirelessly to provide for his family, while Mary devoted herself to raising Sarah and making their home a sanctuary. "She's so beautiful," John whispered one evening, gazing at their newborn daughter as she slept in Mary's arms. "Yes, she is," Mary murmured, gently stroking the baby's soft cheek. In that moment, everything felt perfect. But life, unpredictable as ever, had its own plans. One day, without warning, John lost his job. The factory, the very foundation of their financial stability, shut down. The news hit like a thunderclap. Bills piled up and the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on John's shoulders. "What are we going to do?" he asked one night, his voice filled with worry. Mary reached for his hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "We'll find a way," she said softly. "We always do." Despite the hardship, they held on to each other. Sarah, now a teenager, had troubles of her own. She started staying out late, pushing boundaries, testing limits. One night, John confronted her when she slipped through the door well past curfew. "Where have you been?" he demanded, his voice tight with frustration. Sarah rolled her eyes. "Just out with friends," she said dismissively. John sighed, rubbing his temples. He understood the rebelliousness of youth, but he feared losing her to the chaos of the world. Eventually, hope returned. John found work at a construction company, and little by little, they regained stability. Wanting to celebrate their resilience, they planned a long-awaited family trip to the beach. "This is perfect," Mary said, digging her toes into the warm sand, watching Sarah run towards the waves. John wrapped an arm around her. "I'm just glad we're here together," he said, a rare sense of peace washing over him. But just when life seemed to settle, another storm arrived. Mary began feeling unwell, persistent headaches, exhaustion that no amount of rest could cure. A visit to the doctor brought devastating news. A brain tumor. The words shattered their world. "Am I going to die?" Mary whispered one night, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. John held her close, his own heart breaking. "We'll fight this," he promised, his voice shaking. "I'm here for you." The battle was long and grueling. Mary underwent surgery, treatments, endless doctor visits. John never left her side. He took care of her, reassured her, loved her through it all. One night, as the weight of her illness bore down on her fragile body, Mary reached for John's hand. "I love you so much," she whispered. Tears welled in his eyes. "I love you too," he choked out, his grip tightening around hers. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and Mary's condition worsened. She was confined to a hospital bed, too weak to return home. John stayed with her, refusing to leave her side. One evening, she looked at him, her face pale but still full of love. "Thank you for everything," she murmured. "You are my everything," John said, his voice thick with emotion. Mary smiled softly, then closed her eyes for the last time. The loss was unbearable. The house, once filled with warmth, felt empty without her presence. John grieved deeply, lost in the echoes of a love that had shaped his life. Sarah returned home, knowing her father needed her. One day, she sat beside him and took his hand. "I miss Mom," she whispered. John swallowed hard, nodding. "I miss her too," he said, "but she will always be with us." In Mary's memory, they planted a garden, filling it with her favorite flowers. John visited often, sitting in the quiet beauty of the blooms, feeling her presence in the gentle rustling of the leaves. "She's always with me," he murmured, watching the flowers sway in the breeze. Their love had endured beyond time, a testament to the strength of devotion. It was a story of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two hearts. Even after life ends, love remains.